Today's business environment is full of challenges: climate change, technology disruption, political conflict, economic uncertainty, hybrid work, new business models, and trade tariffs. Climate change is one of the most urgent global challenges of our time, fueled by decades of industrialization and fossil fuel-based transportation that have caused a sharp rise in greenhouse gas emissions. Gases like carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and industrial pollutants such as HFCs, PFCs, and NF3 trap heat in the atmosphere, a process known as the greenhouse effect, driving global temperatures upward. The consequences include extreme weather, rising seas, ecosystem collapse, and growing threats to food, water, and public health. At our current pace, humanity consumes resources equivalent to 1.7 Earths per year. If this continues, we'll need the resources of 3 Earths by 2050. Indonesia has started rolling out climate-related regulations since 2017. The latest regulation in 2024 addressed the implementation of carbon storage activities. Indonesia has affirmed its strong commitment to climate action, aiming to achieve net zero emissions potentially before 2050. This is causing a shift in industry and business models. Supply chains are disturbed due to attempts to lower emissions. Operation cost increase, global variability, long-term financial implications due to penalties. These carbon emission regulations are actively reshaping how companies must operate, from unlocking access to government incentives to facing new market expectations and even enduring operational disruptions. Organizations must now rethink their supply chains, product strategies, and entire business models. And while the pressure is universal, the impact of carbon regulations looks different across industries, shaped by their operations, emissions sources, and opportunities for change. The energy sector remains one of the largest contributors to CO2 emissions, primarily due to fossil fuel use like coal, oil, and natural gas. As regulations tighten, companies face rising transition costs, from carbon taxes to infrastructure upgrades. Manufacturing industries, especially cement, steel, and chemicals, are highly energy-intensive and major emitters of CO2. Meeting new standards may require costly facility upgrades or a shift to cleaner production methods. In agriculture, emissions come from methane in livestock, as well as nitrous oxide in fertilizer and rice production. The sector faces growing pressure to adopt sustainable practices like precision farming and agroforestry. Retailers face growing demand for low-carbon, sustainably produced goods. Companies that lead in carbon transparency, like offering carbon-neutral products, can build stronger brand loyalty. To effectively manage carbon emissions, it's important to understand how they are categorized. Scope 1 covers direct emissions from sources a company owns or controls, like company vehicles or on-site fuel combustion. Scope 2 includes indirect emissions from the energy a company buys, such as electricity or district heating. And Scope 3 is the most complex, including all other indirect emissions across the value chain, such as purchased goods, supplier operations, transportation, and even employee commuting. For most sectors, Scope 3 emissions make up the vast majority. Emissions are the result of countless decisions across materials, energy use, suppliers, and logistics. From raw materials like steel and plastics to the electricity powering their production, every input leaves a trace. What's clear is that a large share of emissions come from upstream processes, those we don't directly control but must account for. Understanding this flow is key to managing Scope 3 emissions and ultimately building strategies that deliver real, measurable reductions. These emissions are often hidden, yet they represent the largest piece of the carbon puzzle that companies must address. Scope 3 emissions can account for up to 75% of a company's total carbon footprint. Because they involve third-party suppliers, logistics, and customer use, organizations often lack visibility and control. Tracking Scope 3 emissions accurately requires robust data systems and collaboration across supply chains. Internally, companies face challenges like data collection, ensuring data accuracy, managing climate commitments, and tracking progress. Externally, they must set realistic reduction targets, overcome budget constraints, align suppliers, and prove their impact to regulators and stakeholders. Without the right systems in place, the cost and complexity of net zero can quickly become overwhelming. This is where the right carbon management software becomes critical. The right tools can help organizations not only navigate these challenges, but turn them into actionable strategies toward a net zero future. It enables organizations to collect extensive data across all three scopes, especially Scope 3. The software is designed to trace emissions across the entire value chain. It captures detailed inputs such as material types, supplier-level energy use, packaging, and transport methods. The tool integrates data from utility bills, invoices, sensors, and procurement records, providing a unified view of carbon across energy, operations, and supply networks. It begins with spend-based estimates, but evolves to activity or product-level tracking for greater accuracy. Once data is uploaded, the tool automatically generates reports categorizing emissions by source, type, and scope. It also helps identify emission hotspots. Organizations can set emissions reduction goals at the product, process, or facility level and compare them to real-time performance. The platform visualizes gaps and even suggests actions like supplier switching or efficiency upgrades. Beyond just tracking, the software forecasts future emissions based on planned initiatives, helping companies assess ROI and align with net zero targets. The software aligns with ISO standards and European regulations, such as CSRD and CBAM, supports lifecycle analysis, and integrates IoT sensors and supplier engagement to offer real-time granular carbon data. What sets Real Green apart is its end-to-end carbon intelligence system. It starts by measuring emissions and mitigation efforts, then moves to reporting through standardized, accessible formats. Next, the data is verified for accuracy and reliability. But Real Green goes further by enabling organizations to forecast their carbon performance, set long-term sustainability goals, and adjust strategies in real time. Globally, over 40% of public companies now report on Scope 3 emissions. Leading companies like Unilever, Philips, and IKEA have already begun measuring and reducing Scope 3 emissions, setting a new benchmark for supply chain accountability. Ready to take the next step? Contact us today to see how we can help you measure, forecast, and accelerate your path to net zero.